national parks road trip. Over the years, I had seen various articles about people who had run the numbers and figured out the mathematically best way to visit every national park in the contiguous 48 states. I wasn't sure which parks I'd end up camping at, which I'd just hike around in for a few hours, and which I'd skip altogether, but I knew I wanted to use one of these algorithm-generated supermaps as my general guide. I wasn't choosing to spend months on end camping and hiking as some personal dare. It wouldn't be a trial by fire in which seeing if I could lug a backpack up a mountain or sleep outside would teach me something about myself. Hiking had already taught me things about myself. For example, if I exercise for more than 5 minutes, my entire face and body turn hot pink and stay that way for the entire rest of the day. I am Irish. But being in nature feels comfortable to me. And right, I'm an outdoors person. Hiking is one of maybe 3 things I truly love doing, along with playing tennis and watching network dramas about high-achieving women who drink too much. My love of camping and hiking can be traced back to a childhood visit to Devil's Lake, a state park in Wisconsin about a 3-hour drive from where I grew up. Devil's Lake is bordered by 500-foot quartzite bluffs on either shore, which for kids who grew up surrounded by the monotony of flat cornfields, qualified as thrilling. One summer day, my stepdad, TB, whose real name is Tom Brandis, but whom my friends and I at some point dubbed TB Ice because that's the kind of thing we did in the early 2000s, sardined every child from our neighborhood into the back of his white kidnapper van and drove us to Devil's Lake for a camping trip, not a seatbelt among us. In retrospect, maybe he chose Devil's Lake as a destination less for its majestic bluffs and more for the fact that 3 hours is about as long as you can drive with a bunch of loose kids in the back of your van and not reasonably expect to be charged with a felony. On the second day of our trip, TB took the, in my memory, dozen kids to a ranger-led nature hike. At the end of the hike, the ranger described a rock formation that anyone who was interested could find by hiking just a 1/10 of a mile farther. After about a half hour, we started to suspect that we had gone a bit more than 0.1 miles. In fact, we had no idea where we were. TB, fulfilling his role as the only adult among us, told us we would be turning back and retracing our steps. But we 25 rowdy preteens were having too much fun. "No!" we screamed. "We want to keep going!" Tom reiterated that we were lost and needed to turn around. "It's a free country! Let's put it to a vote!" we demanded. And the children outvoted the adult 40-1. And so we hiked further into the woods. We hiked past a cleave in a giant block of quartzite and, drunk with power, named this rock formation TB's Butt Crack. We imagined ourselves lost forever, even though, in retrospect, we likely hiked past at least one map. We hiked down a scree field that we didn't think could possibly be part of the trail, but which definitely was. It felt as if anything could happen. It was maybe the first time I felt like I was experiencing every moment as it occurred. I felt awake. And it wasn't just me. That trip instilled in all the 400 kids present a love of sleeping on dirt. 20 years later, those neighborhood kids and I still go camping together. We hike up mountains and don't shower for a week, trying every time to get ourselves lost. The difference between those trips I regularly took with my friends and the trip I was about to embark on all alone was that I would be traveling not for a week, but for months. And crucially, I had no real idea of how many months I would be traveling. I had a list of parks and an order in which to visit them, and as far as planning goes, I had nothing else. This uncertainty, for me, was far more uncomfortable than sleeping on the hard ground in the middle of the desert, or, as I ended up doing just as often, sleeping in my stepdad's Prius in the middle of the desert because I felt too lazy to set up my tent. I am a planner by nature. I am high-strung. I am a person who makes an 8-page Google Doc for a 1-week trip. But in the case of this trip, I flew out on a Tuesday and had no idea where I'd be sleeping on Wednesday. Trying to exert my will on the universe for 1 week was one thing. Expecting the trip to bend to my will for months on end seemed so futile that I didn't even attempt it.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.